This video provides a quick overview to Virtuoso's return on investment calculator, which can be accessed via the Virtuoso website by clicking on the banner. You can access into a calculator, which helps you to provide some basic inputs to return some indicative return on investment calculations. Now, the first thing to do is to fill in the inputs on the right hand side here. What we're after first is how many tests do you intend to actually run each cycle. So this isn't the size of your testing suite, it's the number of tests you would like to be able to run each cycle. So for example, you might have 1,000 tests you want to run on every release. Then we want you to indicate what is the current average length of your tests. And if you're doing feature-based tests, this might be 10 or 20 steps. So good thing to think is of just between your shortest and longest tests, somewhere in the middle, what's the average length? So we might, let's say, for example, 40 steps. So then what we just suggest is you put in an indication of an average salary for your testers. So you might say this is $40,000, for example. And then to indicate how many times a month would you want to be able to run those tests within each cycle. So you might say you want to run them, let's say, twice a week, so 8 times a month. And then finally, just indicate mostly currently, are you testing manually or automated? Bearing in mind, for the purpose of this calculator, automated more uses the inputs from a typical coded framework for the inputs. So that may vary, of course, depending if you're using other solutions. But in this case, just by putting in those inputs, it dynamically updates the calculator, and we see some indicative benefits that are returned with Virtuoso. And this is Virtuoso compared to manual testing. We're doing a conversion, basically typically on how people write journeys in Virtuoso, which typically tend to be longer. And it also takes into account things like the speed of authoring, executing, reporting, and the maintenance of tests, where particularly things like Virtuoso's live authoring, ability to execute in parallel, ease of reporting, and self-healing factors into the benefits here. So based on these inputs, we can see indicative benefits of 76.2 times faster across all the different stages of testing, a year one cost saving of 84.4%, a calculating year one cost saving. So basically, to achieve the equivalent benefits with Virtuoso, you would need to invest, in this case, an additional $621,000. Well, that's what you would save, so cost avoidance. And again, saving 3,677 workdays. So basically gaining either efficiency or being able to do more with less. Now, just as important as well is the fact that the time to ROI is typically within 1 quarter, where then you can see the increasing benefits as more utilization is achieved and as greater efficiency as learning is achieved with the platform. But across our customers, we do see a typical time to ROI is within 1 quarter of signing up and utilizing Virtuoso. And in terms of the small print, which just details down how we have calculated, including things like we factor in that as you onboard to Virtuoso, we would expect in the first phase, typically the first 30 days, you do achieve a lower level of efficiency just as you learn the platform, but then obviously get quicker over time. So we have factored that already into the calculations. So again, a very simple way to get some indicative benefits to understand what sort of returns you would gain. And these are the sorts of things that we also enable you to measure and validate through proof of values.